Bomb threats at 7 polling locations in New Jersey. Polling stations in New York swatted. Holy smokes. Right now, Decision Desk is giving Jay Jones, the guy who said he wants his opponent's children murdered to affect policy and that he would choose to kill a Republican if he had the chance, he's 2-1 right now. Things are getting pretty dang spicy in this country, to say the least, and they're already projecting that Spanberger is winning in Virginia. Oh boy. It is off-cycle election night, and we are learning a lot about what next year may actually look like with as crazy as today's been. Now, for the most part, it's not the craziest day we've ever experienced. I mean, we've seen assassinations or attempted assassinations on top of assassinations. But considering it's an off-cycle election, it's pretty dang worrying when you have swattings and bomb threats. And it's pretty dang worrying when the guy, he hasn't won yet, Jay Jones, but he's literally sent messages saying he wants his opponent's children to be murdered so that it would affect policy. That's terrifying. He's winning. And we're not too far away from Virginia. I don't know if I ever want to go there if that guy's in charge of law enforcement. So we're going to talk about all this. We'll be tracking the elections tonight, plus a ton of crazy stories, a plane crash in Louisville, a bomb threat on a plane, and that was, I believe, in D.C. or around the area. And now Secretary Duffy says he may have to close U.S. airspace because of the government shutdown. Yikes, man. All right, before we get into all that, we got some great sponsors for you today, my friends. We've got anyone.io. We all know the importance of protecting our freedoms, and this extends to protecting our data online. We're getting spied on more than ever, and we all have a responsibility to protect ourselves. That's why you should check out anyone.io. Anyone is building the complete privacy solution. Check this out. Where nobody can track your activity at any level, your browsing history, your purchases, your private conversations. It's a decentralized network that is more secure than any VPN. Wow. Take a look at this thing. Seems pretty simple to use, mind you. This is the Anyone hardware device. It's a physical plug-and-play device that connects directly to your router and creates a private Wi-Fi network inside your home. Every device you connect to is protected. No monthly fees, no subscriptions, no nonsense. Why pay for various VPN apps on every device when one box does it all? The device also lets you join thousands of others around the world who supply their internet to the network and earn passive income every day. You can also use the Anyone browser on your mobile phone for complete freedom when using the internet on the go. This is the digital freedom we're all fighting for. Stay private, stay protected, stay free. Visit anyone.io today to get started and use promo code TIM to get 40% off for a limited time. And don't forget, my friends, you got to go to timcast.com and click Join Us to become a member of our Discord community because unity is strength. It's pretty nerve-wracking when you see the guy who advocated the murder of children for politics, potentially winning a race. How do we combat against this? We have to build culture and community. The Timcast Discord server has tens of thousands of individuals. There's early shows, after shows. There is a network of people helping each other, making their lives better. They're working on video games. They're working on projects. They've even got their own podcasts. Join this community and stand against the evil we are facing. By becoming a member of the Timcast Discord, you're supporting the work we do and unifying with like-minded individuals. Check it out at timcast.com. Don't forget to also smash that like button. Share the show right now with everyone you know. Copy that URL, paste it everywhere. Call your grandma, say, Grandma, turn on Timcast IRL. It is election night, and today matters. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Logan Hall.
Thank you for having me.
Who are you? What do you do?
I work at The Blaze as a digital strategist, so I do a little bit of everything, but a lot of the digital sphere. So,
well, right on. Glad to have you here for this election night coverage. Elaad is well-dressed and ready.
Good evening, everybody. I am Elaad Eliyahu, the White House correspondent and resident neocon here.
Devastated today by the passing of Dick Cheney.
You know, we could get into Dick Cheney a little bit later, I suppose. It's just been a very tough day for neocons. I know he had a very complicated history. Maybe we could get into it a little bit more. It's just a little bit between what's happening between him and Bolton.
A lot going on.
It's been a bad few months for neocons. Anyway, Tate,
What is up, guys? Tate Brown here, holding it down. I'm sick and tired of being mogged by Elaad. Every time I'm on the show, he just shows up dapper. He's looking like he's fresh out the Men's Warehouse. And I mean that as a compliment. The Men's Warehouse is a fine establishment, but happy to be here.
You look like you're fresh out the thrift store.
Yeah.
You know, many are saying this, and you're hearing this more and more from some really terrific people, I will say.
If Elaad is here next Tuesday, I'm going to get dressed up in a suit just to mog you even
It'll
more.
be over for me.
It'll be over.
It'll be over.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Abonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Let's start here, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy. New York City polling locations swatted. This comes after there were bomb threats sent to polling locations in New Jersey earlier on Election Day. They say, according to a report from the New York Post, the FBI and other authorities are investigating swatting incidents, which include a polling site in Harlem. Authorities are probing the emails which were sent to election workers. An NYPD source told the New York Daily News, quote, "We believe it's an elaborate swatting attempt. The emails make terroristic threats. Polling sites have not been shut down in response to the swatting emails, but the emails reportedly sent between 6 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. to the Board of Elections, and workers opened up the email in Harlem, Greenwich Village, and Midtown." They got the comma in the wrong spot, by the way, post-millennial. The threat in the email was deemed not credible by the NYPD. But we also did see that there were bomb threats made, and according to ABC, an arrest has been made in the New Jersey Election Day bomb threats. They say it was not immediately clear whether the subject of the arrest, a juvenile, was also responsible for Election Day threats made against other locations. The authorities in New Jersey made an arrest Tuesday in connection with bomb threats directed at a school polling location in North Brunswick Tuesday morning. Prosecutors said this afternoon. The scary thing there is it may actually be that multiple people were making bomb threats and not one person. Yikes. Now, let's talk about where we are as a nation with all of these threats. I've got Decision Desk pulled up right here. And I'd like to, I'll first point out that they're saying Abigail Spanberger is a greater than 99% chance to win at this point in Virginia with the results that have come in so far, only 30% reporting. The scary thing is Jay Jones has moved up to an 80.8% chance of beating Jason Miyares to become the top law enforcement official in Virginia. This is a man who privately sent messages saying he wants the children of his rivals to be murdered so that it would affect their views on policy. And he said that if he was given the choice, he'd put 2 bullets in the head of his GOP rival. And now he's going to be in charge of law enforcement in Virginia, should he actually win. And that's the projections we have so far. I don't see how this is... how Miyares is going to pull ahead in this regard. But we, of course, are still tracking all of the election here. Miyares is at 49.1 to Jones's 50.9. Theoretically, he could turn things around. We are currently waiting for the polling stations in New York to close. We don't know what's going to happen, but there are many whales in New York who have been wagering a lot of money on Cuomo to win. So we'll be tracking all of this live. We do have a bunch of other stories to get to, but in the meantime, gentlemen, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I just want to say, first of all, like anyone that's been saying, oh, political violence is so beyond the pale, you know, this, that, and the other, and then you went out and cast a ballot for Jay Jones, like you've lost your right to posture that you have any concern over political violence, because he said explicitly that he wishes death upon his political opponents. You've just exemplified that you actually prioritize partisan politics over political violence, like full stop. So I'm sick of seeing all these people that probably, you know, gave this big speech about how it's so horrible the direction our country is going in, and then went out and cast a ballot for this guy. I mean, it's a total joke, but it's not unexpected whatsoever.
Not surprising. I think the point here is that we have seen the Democrats are okay with this guy sent these private messages, right, that were advocating violence against his political enemies and their children. And at the same time, we have conservatives who are very worried about policing our own ranks in private group chats. People who are not running for elected office, they're not political officials. At the same time, the Democrats are doing this this is the candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, okay? This is one of our most important states, and they're all right with this. And then the conservatives are saying, oh, well, we have to make it a priority to denounce these 25-year-old, 22-year-olds who are saying some naughty, mean jokes in group chats. These are two parties that one of them is very concerned with stopping jokes, and the other one is concerned with winning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, look, if all these people that are supposedly on the team spent half the energy that they used, like, just trying to destroy these kids' lives and actually spent it on maybe trying to, I don't know, win the attorney general race in Virginia, we wouldn't have this problem. But these people are just so obsessed with punching right. They're so obsessed with posturing and whatnot that they just lose focus on what we're trying to do here. And JD Vance, like, set the tone. He framed it excellently. He's like, I don't really care what's going on when you have Jay Jones threatening to kill his political opponents. I mean, like, who cares?
They're children.
Right.
I mean, this is depravity, and what terrifies me is it shows he lost not a single endorsement.
Nope.
Yep. He's on track to win. He only dropped a few points in the polls. Right now, according to Decision Desk, he's 51.2% to 48.8%, with Miara's total votes 38% reporting. It's looking pretty good for him. They don't care. Stop pretend like, okay, guys, I want to say this. Conservatives are really stupid people. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say they're real stupid. Democrats have been setting things on fire, rioting, murdering people for years now, and Republicans keep thinking there's an argument. Jay Jones' leaked messages were from years ago, 2 years ago, where he said he wanted the Republicans' children to be murdered and dying in their arms because that would make them change their views on policy. That is the most psychotic, totalitarian, authoritarian thinking you could ever expect. And Democrats are cheering for this and voting for it. And right now, real-time tracking, 84.7% likelihood that Jones actually wins. So for years, Democrats have been going on TV going, we're the peaceful ones. And Republicans are like, hey, wait a minute. You guys can't say that. This is ridiculous. All due respect to Scott Jennings going on CNN and having these debates. These people are sitting there. Probably when he gets up and leaves, they'll start busting out laughing, being like, I can't wait until the violence escalates. I'm gonna stop there as to what I actually think these people think, but I think you get it. Conservative, I cannot believe Jay Jones is tracking to win, and it looks like he's going to. I hope he doesn't. It's not official yet, but they are. It's 84% right now that he does. These people are not arguing with you. Behind the scenes, they are clapping and cheering for murder. They are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. They are happy someone killed him. And this is where we are right now with conservatives constantly going, well, you know, we have to bring things back and have a conversation. Donald Trump called for the end of the filibuster, and John Thune says, nah, we don't got the votes. We're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy, am I excited for when Democrats take back over and start locking all the Republicans up and they go, I can't believe this is happening to us, but I thought we were going to have a debate.
Yeah.
They had a generational opportunity after Charlie's assassination to crack down on the left and left-wing terrorism. And 2 weeks after that, they said, you know, we're going to go after these funding networks. We're going to crack down. We're going to do this. It might take some time. And then immediately half of them shift their focus to these kids in a group chat are saying some naughty things, and we must immediately denounce these people, even though at the same time, the left has their candidate for attorney general in Virginia, and all of the Democrats are like, it's very important what Tim said. He didn't lose an endorsement. They're like, oh, well, we'll leave that up to the voters. I'm not going to denounce anything. I'm not going to say anything. And Republicans, the conservatives, are the first one to say, oh, well, we Politico did a bad story on us, and they said something naughty was in a group chat, and they're like, oh, we have to, these 25-year-olds are out of control. We have to police them and destroy their lives. Charlie, before one of his most important old posts that I had seen was that he said, I would rather go to battle with 300 courageous fighters than with 1,000 spineless, weak conservatives who will run for the hills every time the media calls them a bad man.
Yeah.
And we should remember that in Charlie's legacy. And what's so disgusting is these people are using Charlie's life as like an excuse to like crack down on conservatives when we have much, much bigger problems.
I want to show you guys this video, and I want you to tell me what you think is happening.
Make you rest. Make you rest. And then he wake up tonight when you get this week.
Bye, Red.
Say bye-bye.
See you soon.
What was that?
Make you rest.
This is Jay Jones.
Red, be good.
And
What's
then
he doing?
wake up tonight
What's this?
when you get this week.
What was that?
Say bye-bye.
I'm not trying to suggest that. dude was trying to punt a dog at the field goal, but he tried to kick that dog. And what's weird is, do you know why this is really weird to me? Phil, can you explain what is the analogy example I always use about media smears?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
I always make this analogy when I talk about how the media lies about Donald Trump, and everyone in the audience knows it. I always say the media will come out and say something like Donald Trump kicked a dog.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then literally we get this video where Jay Jones takes a swing at a dog. Why? What's he doing? Again, I'm not trying to claim he was trying to punt the dog or anything, but he literally goes for a swing and the dog just kind of gets out of the way. What's he doing?
Between this, Hassan Piker, and they're like running cover for the Haitians in Springfield, keep your dogs, like keep an eye on them. These people are coming after him. I mean, it's totally out of control.
I don't understand why this dude tried to kick that dog. What is this? And then he gives it a little whap.
I mean, look, this is funny and stuff, but I think that it's worth, kind of driving the point home that conservatives in Virginia, you're not going to get fair treatment under the law anymore. As long as this guy is the AG, if you live in Virginia and you're a conservative, you're going to be held to a different standard than Democrats will be.
If you're a gun owner,
of course,
you're cooked. Yep. The reason he wanted the children murdered was because he believed that if his rivals' children, this is my understanding from the reporting, if his rivals' children were shot and killed, they would become anti-gun. And he wanted that to happen so that they would support gun control measures. This is a man who believes your children should be murdered so that you give up your guns. What will he do with the power of the state backing him?
Right.
And I think that overall tonight, the Virginia governor has been called by multiple places, Spangenberg, one or whatever her name is.
Scamburger.
It's looking like the Democrats are going to sweep across basically all of the important races that are going on. And there is the historical precedent that Democrats tend to win, or the opposing party tends to have better turnout and better results in the next elections after a significant sweep by the opposing party.
But I don't think that is in play anymore
At all? Why?
The idea was the reason why. If the Republicans won, then the next election cycle, the Democrats would win. If the Democrats won, the Republicans would win. It's because people were in between, for the most part, the parties. The Democratic Party was about a third. The Republican Party was like less than a third. And then you had around 40 or so % of people who were kind of like, I don't know, I could go either way. I don't believe we're in that world anymore, where the Republicans win, and then regular middle-of-the-road people are like, maybe the Republicans were a bad choice. I'll consider Democrat. Because Jay Jones, talking about killing people, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the arrest of Donald Trump's lawyers, all of these things are so psychotically extreme. I think the issue is more so, it's not about whether people's are like, I can't decide between Democrat or Republican. It's an issue of whether or not you can muster up fear within your party of the other side winning. And so what I think we're seeing now is, after Donald Trump wins, Republicans win in the Senate and the House. They've already got the Supreme Court. They basically said, it's over, we win. And they're not turning out. I think the issue principally is turnout among Republicans thinking, we did it, we won. And now Democrats are taking some of the most important positions in these states. But most Republicans who helped get this victory, I mean, we're talking about the AG in Virginia. Most Americans do not care about this.
Sadly. And that is sort of the difference in the mindset. Democrats are very active and organized. I think conservatives are super good at online organization, much better than the liberals and the left are, because we've kind of lived in that sphere for so long. We're working against a hostile media. But Democrats on the ground, their ground game, at least like locally in terms of like school board elections, et cetera, they are much, much more active. In Kentucky, where I live, we have a group of probably 15 or so people that go out every couple weeks and protest at the Republican Party building of Kentucky. And you just don't have that same sort of thing among like our side, right? We don't go and like protest because we're actually like doing jobs, we're working, we're not just free on some random Tuesday all the time. But we have to get more. We have this mindset where we won the presidency and we think we're in control. We think we've won. Actually, we've won like a very small amount compared to the long march through the institutions that the Democrats have done. We tend to think, oh, we won one election, that means we are in power. That's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it's Orrin McIntyre. He says the party that wants to win will always beat the party that wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's just this mindset that needs to be completely beat out of conservatives, because it's like they're not going to leave you alone. They want to kill you. Like they've said it explicitly.
Yeah, that's I think that's something that the right needs to internalize. There's a lot of people that don't really believe that Democrats are actually as willing to resort to violence as they are. You know, whether it be, you know, the old people that were on the streets talking about, you know, it's okay that Charlie Kirk was killed because there was, you know, it was the boomers that were out during the No Kings protest, really, and they were out there saying no, it's perfectly fine. Charlie Kirk was this terrible person, totally misrepresenting everything he's ever said and everything he stood for, but saying that it's perfectly acceptable to kill conservatives just because they're conservatives. This isn't a hypothetical or just you know, bluster and hyperbole. This is actually you know, the beginnings of Radio Rwanda, which we've talked about that here before. Like when one party continuously says you're evil and it's okay to kill them and it's okay to attack them, et cetera, you have that coming from the media largely. You got MSNBC like literally broadcasting it. And then when you make these points, the people like Democrats are consistently, oh, well, you know, the conservatives too, Republicans too, and both sides, et cetera, which is patently false. You know, but now we are living in a world where conservatives really do have to think, all right, my safety is probably in question. At the very least, I know that in certain places, I can't expect the law to protect me the same way that it would protect someone with different political opinions.
Let's pull up this tweet from Mike Cernovich. He says, Democrats are flipping seats left and right. When Trump isn't on the ballot, low-propensity voters stay home. There's no viable Republican Party. It's the Trump Party, and tonight is another reminder of this. That's a scary prospect, because that means Republicans will lose the midterms, Trump will be removed from office, or at least his chance of doing anything will be completely destroyed, and come 2028, Democrats will take over, and then conservatives. I'm going to go with Scott Adams on this one. When he said Republicans will be hunted, the only mistake he made was that he was a few years too early. And everyone made fun of him for this, like, bro, calm down. Then you've had a couple of targeted killings of conservatives. You've had the attacks on Tesla and ICE facilities. I genuinely believe now, with someone like Jay Jones projected to win, Scott Adams was right just a little early. If it is true that people will not vote unless Trump is on the ballot, the Republican Party is fried, then Trump leaves in 2028, that's it. Democrats are going to come in. There's going to be a communist authoritarian takeover. And I mean, communist somewhat lightly. It's not going to be as overt as like the Soviet Union. It'll be more like Chinese Communist Party. And they'll kill people. It's I stand by my prediction that by this time next year, we'll be looking at another major assassination of a political figure.
Yeah.
Before the midterms.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like a big part of the problem is this, even though we sort of have push the never Trumpers to the bench to some degree, that contingent has remanifested itself. And you have this huge problem in the Beltway of these cocktail party conservatives who just want to like write glossy National Review articles all day instead of actually, because they view winning, they view the means that it would take to win as like beneath them and dirty and gross. And they'd rather be like, the principled whatever.
Rather lose honorably.
And then there's a huge part of the Republican electorate that thinks along these lines as well, as they view a lot of these actions as like beneath them. And it's like, well, okay, well, that's not smart. I can't intellectualize that. So it must be bad. It must be wrong.
I think this is part of what is giving Trump some sense of urgency. He's been calling the past couple of days, he's been calling for the filibuster to be ended, which I tend to agree with. I think he understands that we have to ensure that the Democrats do not get in power again. If they do, like you guys said, it's probably open season. I don't think that there's anything these people are not willing to do, and it was a shock to them. You know, we have to remember we came within like less than an inch of losing our country. If Trump had been, they wanted to do to Trump what they did to Charlie on live television, and they wanted to make you remember it and to make you scared. And if that had happened, who knows? Thank God that it didn't. But we need to recognize the stakes here, and this is not like some we need to be worried about the midterms, but we also need to be thinking in terms of 10, 20, 30 years from now. If the Democrats do get in power, it's very scary for our country.
I think it's fascinating because
Mickey Sherrill's projected to have won.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's pull up New Jersey here. This breaking news, Decision Desk has called it for Mickey Sherrill. Wow. Jack Ciattarelli has lost nearly 2-1 so far with 26% reporting.
Wow.
that's a blowout.
Well, it looks like
Yeah.
a lot of the rallies haven't.
Based on this showing, I'm actually I've been saying the whole time I think Mamdani has the edge, but that Cuomo is undervalued. I'm pretty sure Mamdani's going to win this one in New York.
Yeah.
I placed a, full disclosure, $400 trade on Cuomo to win because it pays out $5,000 if he does.
Wow.
That's a value bet because Cuomo's odds were not that bad. Internally in New York, according to call sheet data, he's 10% above. So this is interesting. Outside of New York, it's 9-1 Mamdani to win. Inside of New York, it's 49-40. Cuomo's advantage. So that said to me, the people of New York are going to weigh a little bit more heavily. And so I said, okay, I'll make a value bet, but I'm pretty sure Mamdani's going to win this.
Yeah.
It's I think a sad reflection on the Democrat Party. Kind of shows where they're headed, but that they cannot rig an election for a Cuomo in New York City anymore. I think that's kind of shows you the state of affairs of that party. I also think it shows in 2028, they are probably going to double down on this sort of third worldization of America, trying to double down. These people have actually not, we hear all this, we need to tone down the rhetoric and everything. They have not necessarily learned anything from the 2024 election. I think what they've learned is that they need to go harder, and they are doing that.
Well, that's the thing is like with the last two Democrat primaries, you could at best say they put their thumb on the scale to some degree, to a variety of ways. The fact that they didn't do that in the New York mayoral primary indicates that they view Mamdani's ideology as something viable for the future for their party, and that should scare the living bleep out of you. I mean, that's absolutely.
It does. It's the hand eating rice with your hands ideology.
Yeah.
Not good.
I think I said something about this last night, and I think that this is still true. The left still has to figure out how they're going to finance a national campaign on that kind of policy, or those kind of policies. The wealthy donors that have been Democrats, that have reliably been donating to Democrats for the past 15, 20 years, they're not going to want to give money to Mamdani or someone like Mamdani, someone that would put a national wealth tax in place, a tax on whatever your net worth is or whatever annually.
It's a Radio Rwanda thing. It was like a tax the whites policy.
Well, I mean, that is true, but like, I don't think that, even though Mamdani might be able to, or someone like Mamdani obviously can win in a municipal race in New York, but nationwide, that I don't know that they have that they would get the kind of funding necessary. I mentioned this last night. Hillary Clinton spent $1 billion. Barack Obama spent $1 billion. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden spent something like $1 billion. Kamala Harris had something around $1 billion. And Kamala Harris went in debt. Like she ended up being, in debt. I don't see them being able to raise that kind of money if they're not going to be catering to the wealthy Democrats.
This is interesting. Kalshi was wrong. Kalshi prediction was that Miyares was going to win. And he had a decent edge. Even before, at the end of October, he was looking at around a 70% likelihood to win. That's what the prediction market said. And then as it got closer to Election Day, it dropped to just above 50. And as of today, it completely inverted. So the people who kept their money on Jay Jones, they're getting paid out. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Mamdani. The thing about Mamdani and Cuomo, check this out. She says someone just put $200,000 on Cuomo to win the New York City mayor election, a $1.6 million payout. I wonder if the New York establishment is going to let Mamdani win this one. I am talking about the moneyed interests. Wall Street, big finance, they don't want a Mamdani. Cuomo may have lost the primary. Sure, that can happen. I'm wondering if Kalshi is going to be wrong on this one as well.
So I think polling shows Mamdani is a shoo-in, but hot take alert right here. I actually think nationwide that Mamdani getting elected to mayor in New York City will be a benefit to Republicans nationwide. To kind of piggyback on Phil's point, it's because the only place where a person like Mamdani can be elected, it is in New York City, where you have a high concentration of socialists and immigrants who have become citizens, and specifically Southeast citizens. So there's a high concentration of that there. There's a high concentration of those immigrants and socialists, people who come all across the country. Socialists come to New York City.
How does that benefit Republicans?
It benefits Republicans because they'll be able to fearmonger on around a person like Mamdani.
They could do that with Brandon Johnson.
Not as effectively. Not nearly as effectively.
Why?
Because I feel like Mamdani perfectly exemplifies a lot of the things that Republicans fearmonger. A gay, brown Muslim, a socialist. Well, he looks gay.
Yeah.
I take him for a gay man. But the point is that the only place where a Democrat like him would be able to win is in New York City. That's why we're seeing like Abigail Spanberger, people would like to call her extreme.
He's not gay. Remember he had that thing where he was mad because white women didn't like him?
Yeah, I was trading on the gay race.
But this is true. He had that blog where he was like, white women don't like me because I'm brown.
Yeah.
It's not true. White women fetishize brown people.
No, that's what
disgusting.
drives a lot of these guys is like resentment against white people because they were rejected in college by attractive white women.
I think you are incorrect, good sir. I think that what's going to happen is Mamdani is going to pass the blame. Whatever happens, he's going to say it's Republicans. He's going to find some reason to be like, look at this Republican bill that intentionally sabotaged our plans to help the poor people. And then he's going to go to stupid people and is going to say, explain to me how me offering you health care was the problem. And then I go, yeah, he's right.
Well, here's the thing. He's definitely going to be put in a position to fail because Trump's going to withhold federal funds. And then also Kathy Hochul
that's my point.
Well,
he's going to say, nothing I do is wrong. Trump did it. And he's going to show Trump quotes saying we're withholding funding. And he's going to say our plan would work if we weren't at war with the president.
I think New York City, people who live, New Yorkers will see the city turn to shit and then will blame him. Also, in New York City, mayors always become unpopular within the city confines.
I'm going to push back again. People are fleeing New York already, have been for the past several years, and there's a projection that up to 1 million people may flee if Mamdani wins. What's going to happen then is all the polling is going to spike. It's going to skyrocket for Mamdani because the people who oppose Mamdani will leave, and all that's left will be people too stupid to realize his plans don't work. I was talking with Batya Ungar-Sargon today, and she made a great point. She said, all the things that he promised, he literally has no authority to do. The mayor can't make free buses or make them go faster. It's not a function of the mayor. City council does that. The only thing he'd actually affect is the police department by firing the commissioner. That's it. So he's going to people and he's being like, I'll make your buses free. And if they asked him how, because the mayor can't do that, he'd be like, But that's how stupid these people are.
Things in the city will get worse, and they need to get worse for New Yorkers to realize that change is needed.
We thought that
we're going to have the pendulum swing with Mamdani, and then in 2 years down the line, it's going to swing
We've been there, done
way.
that. Do you not remember the past several years of Chicago? We had Lori Lightfoot. It went to crap, and then they were like, let's make it worse and do Brandon Johnson. And it's only gotten worse in Chicago, and they have not changed their voting patterns.
I don't think most Americans know who Brandon Johnson even is. Mamdani is a national leftist figure, and he will fail in New York City, and then there will be a pushback against him down the line. There's also one thing.
I think you are insane because you keep touching the fire and going, sooner or later, the fire won't be hot.
New Yorkers need to touch fire sometimes.
The
I feel like that's
Chicago,
normal for New Yorkers.
Been there, done
Americans
that.
don't care about Chicago.
Been there, done that. Los Angeles, been there, done that. It's not changing.
There's this
Seattle, Portland. Here's what's happening. People are fleeing these cities. The Pacific Northwest and the West, they're fleeing to Colorado and Arizona, and it's entrenching communist rule in these jurisdictions. The reason why we're shocked to find Portland police arresting Nick Sorter is because any police officer who opposed the leftists left a long time ago, and the cops who are there are happy to do these things. Mamdani is going to cause an exodus of moderate to right-leaning people. If he wins, and then you're going to see his polls skyrocket, he's going to say, see, the people of New York like me even more now. No, it's because the people who hate you left. Then people outside are going to be like, yeah, that's why we left, but it won't matter. It's geographic hyperpolarization, and no one in this country's voting patterns are changing. I'll put it this way. If the people who lean conservative flee to a conservative jurisdiction, it will not change the amount of congressional seats or federal power we have. The state, if they flee to West Virginia, guess what? West Virginia is still going to be 90% Republican. Nothing's going to change. But it's going to make the blue state much, much bluer. And the amount of seats they have in Congress, it's not going to change for the next 5 years. So it's going to entrench far left lunatics that get into Congress. And then we're going to see that battle at the federal level. And it's going to escalate in the next few years. 2028, if Trump's not on the ballot, we are going to have communist blue states and anti-communist red states. And you can predict what comes next.
Yeah, well, and the thing that makes Mamdani so unprecedented in the American political zeitgeist is that he's like a third worldist fundamentally. So you're looking at New York City. And the thing that's driving the majority of this, the reason we're not going to get another Giuliani is because there's been a massive demographic overhaul of New York City. Yeah. So we don't even have the environment.
They called it for Jay Jones.
Yeah. Right. So that's what I mean. So we don't even have the environment to even like vote for a Giuliani because all those voters are in Florida and North Carolina, and they've been replaced with people that would be the constituency for a Zoran Mamdani.
To Tate's point, the statistics, there were some recently that said native-born New Yorkers, Cuomo had like a 15 or 20 point majority, right?
Yep.
For foreign-born New Yorkers, I don't even know what a foreign-born New Yorker is, by the way. But a foreign-born New Yorkers was like 30 or 40 or 50 points for Mamdani. So this shows you that this is the strategy, right? They try to import all these people who, why are the people from third world socialist countries are voting for a third world socialist? Well, it's pretty obvious. Right. I tend to agree with Tim's point. I think what you two were sort of dancing around there is that progressives fundamentally are incapable of self-government. They will not change. They want to make things worse and worse. They are not going to just suddenly be like, okay, well, now it's time to vote for a Cuomo or the moderate Democrat. They are going to double down until communism is fundamentally utopian. They are going to keep voting for this person who is going to promise the free buses and whatever else. As things get noticeably worse around them, they will continue to do that no matter what.
Well, I suspect that Republicans in moderate swing districts will use Mamdani as a foil as he becomes the face of the Democrat Party. Mamdani's politics wouldn't work in Virginia. Spanberger's running as a moderate. There's also one thing that I wanted to hit on because I feel like it's been underreported on, especially in our circles, and that is the New York City matching funds programs. What is that? It's that where there are eligible candidates who agree on spending limits and strict disclosure rules, and then they receive an 8-to-1 match in public funds for the first $250 of each contribution of any New York City resident. What does that mean? It means if you're a New York City resident and you donated $250 to Cuomo or Curtis Lewa, then they receive, $1,750 from the government, from your tax dollars to continue campaigning. So it's an 8-to-1 tax matching to your contributions to your campaign. But what does that mean? That incentivizes candidates to stay in the race a lot longer than they have to be. So I'm not accusing Curtis Lewa of anything here, but I'm just saying it benefits his camp and the people who work for him to continue this race as long as he can, because he can run a racket based on government tax dollars being sent to you on an 8-to-1 basis, although he's going to lose. So it doesn't matter if he's going to lose. It's going to increase his name ID. He's only incentivized to stay in the race and continue to get tax dollars that he gets to send off to his cronies. So I think this is a major issue in New York City in campaign finance.
I got a question for you, Elaad. With everything we've seen over the past several years with the COVID lockdowns, I want to remind people of something. I was eating some delicious pimento cheese from, Palmetto?
Patriot.
Is that the name of the company?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I want to make sure.
I just love pimento cheese. I'm a golfer, so they do pimento cheese at Augusta.
Palmetto cheese. Do you guys remember how bad it was in this country? How insane it was in the United States that the Palmetto company, home-style pimento cheese, when the founder of this company said he supported Trump, they started to pull his products from the marketplace. They tried to cancel his cheese product simply for saying he voted for a guy for president. I don't think people understand. They don't remember how bad it was. Several years ago, if you publicly said you supported Trump, they would try to fire you and destroy your life. Yep. We have won tremendously. despite all of that which we went through with the lockdowns, with and largely in these blue states, with cancel culture, how do people vote for a man like Jay Jones? Elaad, you said that in New York they'll learn their lesson from Mamdani, but I'm pointing out it's been nearly a decade of extreme far-left abuses and insanity to the point where we have pushed back tremendously, and they're still voting for a man like Jay Jones. Why haven't they learned?
Democrats stayed committed to their candidate because in our current political climate, people are hardened in their political beliefs, no matter how good or bad a candidate may be. They do not care. The politician is a symbol that embodies their beliefs. I also think, because we've mentioned it so many times, it's worth reading the Jay Jones texts. So he's talking about, I don't know if you want to pull it up, but I have it pulled up. He's talking about the Speaker of the Virginia House. He said, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, that was the Speaker of the House at the time, Hitler and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with 2 of the worst people you know, and he receives 2 bullets every time. He also says, yeah, I told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move more on policy. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil?
You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. He wanted the children of his opponents killed so that they would change their view on gun control. And specifically, he wanted his opponent's children to be shot and murdered so that the parents would have a change of heart and vote to ban guns. What do you think a man like that does with the power of the state? He is literally telling you that it is his preference someone shoot children to force. Now, you may give him the light approach and say, well, what he's saying is if their children are murdered, they'll have an epiphany. We should have banned guns. I think that's naive. I think he's saying he is willing to have those children murdered as a threat to those people. Change your policies or else. It doesn't matter if the idea is extortion, coercion, or manipulation. The idea is, in his world, whatever reason, those children must die so that he can have his agenda accomplished.
I think part of this is just the political reality on the ground. I think the flashpoint that got Youngkin elected were a bunch of these insane transgender policies in Virginia at the time.
It's critical race theory. Remember that? We don't even use that phrase anymore.
And also the former governor's abortion statement.
Yes, that too. So I think part of this were these huge, like the left was going way out of control with their like trans insanity and the critical race theory, as you said. Now it's a little bit different. The flashpoint is Trump is kind of in control, as we would say, or in power. The Virginia Democrats are a little bit scared. They don't like that, and it's not like there's these insane things going on. I mean, they might be going on, but it's not as bad as it was. And part of this too is I think the Republicans ran a very weak candidate. I don't know.
Totally.
I don't think Winsome Sears was ever like going to be like.
Agreed.
I don't think she was nearly as strong as Youngkin, no matter what.
But how did Jay Jones win?
I think
down
ticket.
Yeah,
I also think it's worth considering.
It's a Democrats again. Yeah. So
people are sick, I think, of the pearl clutching. I think his comments in these private conversations were gross, but I think generally Americans are sick of the pearl clutching around rhetoric.
No way, dude. Never in my lifetime would anyone get away with a statement like that in politics.
It just happened. He just did.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying it's crazy. Could you imagine in the 90s? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, because I wasn't. But my understanding is, I could not. When people were calling Obama a Muslim, John McCain's like, no, we don't say that. He's a good man. He's a good man. Mm-hmm. And people were like, oh, these people are so tepid. Now you've got Jay Jones being like, yeah, kill the kids.
Oh yeah.
And people are like, that's fine. That's totally fine. Vote for him.
Yeah, Howard Dean like laughed weird and then lost.
Seriously, he went. Woohoo!
I feel like
they just killed Charlie Kirk and elected a man who says murder your opponent's children.
Yep.
Totally, and these comments are gross, but I feel like people are sick of the pearl clutching because it's both sides just bitching about other sides' private conversations. No, because that's what's going on.
Sick of the pearl clutching.
Democrats are complaining about, oh, look at these college Republicans' text messages. They're talking about Hitler. Oh, look at Nick Fuentes. He says he loves Hitler.
That's
and then
fake.
on the other side, they're saying Republicans are just pointing to these guys' private text messages and saying, oh, look at this guy. He's saying,
We
Gilbert
get it.
gets 2
We get
bullets
it.
and not
You're
these
wrong,
other dictators.
and it's fake.
What am I wrong about there?
The Democrats are pretending to care about these things. It is not real. You do not simultaneously say, oh, heavens me, the dude said a naughty word, and then advocate for murdering Charlie Kirk and his family or whatever.
Well, if you follow their thought process, if these people do love Hitler as their alleged texts do say they do, then they'd be saying they're fighting fascism.
No.
By their logic, I don't agree with
Elaad,
them.
you cannot simultaneously be like, I am deeply offended by the words they've used, and then privately call for murdering children.
No, because
It
in their
proves-
opinions, it's they're
Elaad,
breeding little fascists.
No.
They're breeding little fascists.
Okay, let's
That's
try
what he's
this
saying in the
again.
text.
Let's try this again, Elaad. What is worse, murdering children or saying naughty words?
Murdering children.
So when the people claim they are not for violence, and it's the Republicans and the right who are responsible for all the violence, are they telling the truth or lying?
They're lying.
They're lying. Do you think people who espouse murdering children, murdering Charlie Kirk, and killing conservatives care whether or not someone says a naughty word?
No, they do not.
Then they're lying. Okay, so you
Correct.
agree.
It's all political
It's
posturing.
fake.
Yes.
So therein lies the point. These Democrats are not actually having an argument. They're not tired
but
of
I
the
guess
pearl
my
clutching.
point is, I think people tune out when it's like, oh, look at this guy's private text message. Oh, he said this bad thing in his private text messages. And that's why I think this didn't resonate with voters. Clearly, these attacks on Jay Jones, the Democrat voters in Virginia clearly didn't care very much.
Well, they did.
Because they want to kill you. Do you think there are Democrats a lot who will kill you for being Jewish?
They wouldn't say it was for being Jewish. They'd say it's for
I'm
being
not-
a
I'm not
Zionist,
saying
but
what they
yes,
would
I
say.
think so. Yes.
I agree, and I think it's exponentially increasing. There is a faction of people on the right who probably will kill people for being Jewish, but it's very small. Although indeed, yes. On the left, I saw videos from these universities where a guy, for simply wearing a Star of David, got physically attacked on a university grounds. These people do not care if you say naughty words. They know they're lying, and they're tricking you because Republicans are retarded. Republicans are so stupid. Donald Trump says we have to end the filibuster now and push through our agenda. And John Thune's like, no, I don't think we have the votes. And there's people in the chat right now that are like, but Tim, what'll happen when the Democrats take power and there's no filibuster? If the Democrats take power, there won't be a filibuster. They'll end it in 2 seconds. They'll pack the court and they will kill your children. That's hyperbolic, I know, but Jay Jones has said he wants your children dead so that you'll change on policy. Now, I wonder if that means he hopes someone else kills your kids, or if it means, when push comes to shove, he'd be willing to orchestrate the murder of your children so that you finally come around and do as you're told. Let me put it like this. There are videos and photos all across the internet from Halloween of leftists and liberals dressed like a bleeding to death Charlie Kirk.
They did with Trump, too.
And with Trump, of course.
Yeah.
And they're dancing and laughing about it. There's Caitlin Bennett on the ground as a woman says maybe she should be murdered too because you people are abhorrent. So when the Democrats are like, oh, well, he said a naughty word. They are lying to the retarded Republicans who are like, oh, I'm really sorry that someone said a naughty word. I can't believe someone would do that. We should yell at Nick Fuentes. And then they elect the guy who wants to kill kids. They don't care about the naughty words. They never did. They wanted you dead a long time ago. They firebombed the White House grounds in St. John's Church and forced Donald Trump into an emergency bunker and then mocked him for it. And Republicans keep going, well, let's try and win this debate. They're not debating you. They murdered Charlie Kirk. They tried to kill Trump 3 times.
The left has a total monopoly on on political terrorism, right? So we have a couple peaceful protesters go to the Capitol, and that is the national scandal, right? They almost seized the government. They took over the government. It was an insurrection. But we see this, and we cannot call out hypocrisy anymore. I think there should be a specific standard that is just consistent.
No, but the thing is, they don't care about hypocrisy. Like,
no, they don't.
Saying we like calling out hypocrisy doesn't work.
No.
So there's no point in calling out hypocrisy because for them, it's not hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. Yep. It's okay for them to do things, whereas it's not okay for the right to do things. So the idea that it's hypocrisy, like we need to throw that out because it's just when we're in power, we can do things that we want to do. When you're in power, you're not allowed to do anything. And that's the world we live in now.
I want to, we have a story that I want to jump to, but
it's a crazy.
We'll start here
in New Jersey.
We'll start with this real quick for context, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, let me pull up the Virginia race here. Can we pull this up? It has been announced that Jay Jones has won in Virginia. And this is a man who texted he wanted the children of his rivals to be murdered to affect their views on policy, and that if given the option, he would put 2 bullets in the head of a Republican. Here's a tweet from Andy No. A Trump supporter was shot dead on the streets of Portland, Oregon on October 27th around 5:36 p.m. Derek M. Rice, 39 of Portland, was killed on Northeast 125th Place. Police have released no information about the suspect or suspects who got away. If anyone has information about the case, the PPB is asking that you contact homicide tips at police.portlandoregon.gov. We don't know why this man was killed. But considering what's been going on in Portland, and considering that's not the first time a Trump supporter has been killed in Portland, and that major story we did see was Aaron Danielson, who was shot twice in the chest. A man named Michael Reinl is seen on video walking down the street when you hear someone yell, "We got one right here," or something to that effect, and then puts 2 bullets in the chest of a Trump supporter who was walking down the street. We now have another story of a Trump supporter identified as Derek M. Rice wearing his Trump shirt.
Great shirt,
being
by
shot
the way.
and killed. We don't know why he was shot and killed. It may actually be nothing. Who knows? Maybe it was a drug deal gone wrong. I don't know. I don't want to impugn the honor of this man. We don't know for sure. Just that they found him shot and dying, transported him to a hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Andy No, of course, reporting saying we're trying to figure out what's going on. Now, what I will say is this. It is extremely important to clarify we don't know if this was a politically motivated killing or not. What I will say is, exactly as I've predicted some time ago, it starts to sound more and more chaotic. When conflict arises, you will wake up to these stories, and we don't know exactly what they're about because it's fog of war. Could this be a politically motivated killing? Possibly. I would argue that there's 1,000,001 potentialities where it was not politically motivated. For all we know, he owed some guy money or some guy owed him money and he was asking for it. Who knows? What is going to happen is there's a reason why, I'll put it this way, Andy No is sharing this tweet because we want to know whether or not this was a politically motivated murder. Andy No, in any other circumstance, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, likely would not have tweeted about a shooting with no information. As the conflict escalates and people like Jay Jones win their elections, even though we know he wants to murder conservatives, the assumption begins to emerge that when someone with an overt political leaning is killed, it was for political reasons. And with the escalation of terror attacks on ICE officials, the attacks on ICE officials in general, as well as the attacks on conservatives, people are going to start assuming if you don't have information on why a Trump supporter was killed, then we're going to lean towards it was a politically motivated murder. Now, again, I don't know for sure, but I think that it has become front of mind, top of mind for everybody that you could potentially be killed simply for who you want to vote for. As we already see now, it looks like the AG in Virginia is a man who wants to kill you. He wants to kill conservatives. And that's not an exaggeration. He said if he was in a room, he'd put 2 bullets in the head of a GOP representative. And he hopes that Jennifer Gilbert's children would die so that they would change their view on policy to agree with him. So what I will say is I had a conversation over security today, and it's escalating again. Yeah, I probably have 1,000,001 people saying, Tim, you shouldn't talk about this, but I've already said I'm done playing this game because I think you are all aware of what is currently going on. But again, I had a conversation with security, and the response was, we need to increase your security detail because of what we are seeing, especially now with Jay Jones. The problem is the threat against my life, as well as the threat against many other prominent conservatives' lives, is now coming directly from government. I live a couple minutes away from Virginia. I have always talked about how we're very close to Loudoun County. What am I supposed to do now, knowing that the head of law enforcement in Virginia wants to kill conservatives? And I have a particularly prominent show that opposes people like him. I've told you guys this already. I won't be returning to Chicago for the holidays anymore because about 12 years ago, I'm sorry, this is 13 years ago, I and my friends were pulled over by Chicago police and they tried planting drugs in our car to frame us. And it sounds pretty crazy, but NBC covered the story. Surrounded by multiple vehicles at gunpoint, ultimately they tried planting Adderall in our vehicle. Now I have to deal with the AG of Virginia wanting to murder people like me. Charlie Kirk is dead. The alleged assassin and the people surrounding the assassin appear to be motivated by mainstream Democrat ideology. This isn't just my opinion. It's what you are going to hear on mainstream news reports. It's what you are going to hear from your average mainstream pundit on the right. We know for a fact this guy believes this, and they voted for him anyway. So what happens if I drive through Virginia and get pulled over by some leftist commie cop, and look what I found, some drugs. What's going to happen? I do not trust that people like Jay Jones will actually do their job. I believe this guy is a communist revolutionary who will kill if he has to. As I, for the life of me, could never text a person, I want someone's children murdered. I could never do it. I could never say that. I could never wish for someone's kids to be killed like that. It takes a special kind of evil and depravity. So now we're looking at a story of a Trump supporter killed. And as I often say, truth won't matter to partisans. The assumption is going to be, once again, that far leftists killed a conservative, killed a Trump supporter. And this is where the state of the country is currently at.
I mean, there's no debating it anymore. I mean, there was a minute where we thought after Charlie Kirk was murdered, where it was like, okay, there's no way Jay Jones is going to win with these texts coming out. There's no way. You know, people are going to look at this guy and they're going to say, this is beyond the pale. We can't have politicians talking like this. We can't have someone be the highest prosecutor in the land. Well, now we do.
Logan, I do think you were very spot on with the higher up of the ticket not being too strong. Winsome Sears, she's no Glenn Youngkin, a nice woman, but I don't know, a black woman, and you know there is some identitarianism in the Republican Party, especially in Virginia. And then who the Lieutenant Governor John Reed, I believe it was. Yeah. He's a nice man, but a gay man, and you know Mary was on the show with us when he was on, and she said she wouldn't vote for him because he was gay. So I don't know if I'm reading too much into these identity things, but you know. Abigail Spanberger, very well liked. There are a lot of federal employees in Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., and she was a former CIA agent, so she had the backing of a lot of people
Well, I think
in that camp. And I don't know. I mean, it really struck me when Mary said, when I asked Mary if she would vote for Reed, and she said no, because he's gay, and I couldn't support a gay candidate who goes against my values like that. Democrats seem more willing to compromise on parts of their value for their perceived greater good. Am I misreading this?
Well, I think it's the other way around. I think the Republican Party still has this like terrible idea where they're like, if we just throw up a minority or throw up a woman, or in this case both, somehow black voters will just somehow black voters will just vote for him because they're black. It's like this poisonous idea that Trump has completely blown up because he outperformed any Republican candidate ever with black voters, and he didn't really like appeal to them at all as far as a direct appeal. He was just himself. He just had good policy. He resonated to whatever policy they would advocate for. And the Republican Party still has this, like, it's almost like DEI where they're like, oh, well, maybe if we nominate like a black woman, then maybe black voters will like us. Maybe women will like us. And it's like,
it's called
so ridiculous.
It's called DEI conservatism, and they very much believe in this.
We love doing that. We love taking like a black woman, throwing it in the Democrats' face, be like, "Yeah, look, we support her. Go vote for her." Yeah,
and then
we have a gay man. Yeah,
and Democrats
vote for him.
Being extremely racist just go like, "Well, we won't vote for black people then."
And all conservatives do are say like, actually, Democrats are the real racists. It's like I'm getting pretty sick of this. I think a lot of people are sick of this. Yeah. The other issue is too. There has been no real urgency for the Republican Party to be like, we have to win Virginia. This is an important must-win election. There was none of that, okay? Now, some people have been trying to make a point that, like, New Jersey is very critical. That would be huge to flip that sort of a blue state. But, again, they're not saying like, oh, we need our voters here today, now to do this. I don't think, I don't even know, I can't name a policy of, it seems like, again.
Of Winsome Sears?
Winsome Sears, yeah. It seems
don't
like
you know her policy of hold the gun in that picture?
Yeah.
That's her policy.
It seems like she's necessarily, all the stuff, you know, I'm an online person. I do digital stuff. So when I would see her stuff online, it seems like she's running against a Democrat to say like, these Jay Jones texts are terrible versus like, what are you for? You know, how are you going to improve Virginia? What are you running on? What is your policy vision? Do you have a vision for the future of the state? Now, it's not to say Democrats really did a good job of that either, but they're going into it with a huge advantage because of Nova, right? And because of Trump. So
it's fascinating how much the conservatives do fetishize minorities, and I feel like it goes beyond just these political races. I feel like if there's, if you're a commentator and you're a black commentator or a black female, black gay female conservative online, Republicans will love you just for that, just because of your identity. No matter how dim you may be, you could be the dumbest person, it doesn't matter. We will still fetishize you only because the color of your skin. We do love this weird reverse racism, putting minorities on a pedestal. We love our what is it, Uncle Tom's? We love our Uncle Tom's.
I don't know about that.
We love our
I don't know
tokens.
about that, but we love the idea of getting a gotcha soundbite on a Democrat. And like we, for some reason, think like, oh, a Democrat's not voting for a black woman. What about DEI? What about all this equity? So we love that. But to Logan's point as well, is the Republican Party has just entrenched itself as the opposition party. So they always define themselves in what they're against, and they never define themselves in what they're for. And that's why, like Cernovich was talking about, when Trump's on the ballot, no one's really interested in what they're selling because it's just being like graceful losers. It's being the opposition party, where Trump is the only person in the GOP that is defining what America should be.
He has a vision.
He has a vision. And it's like the Democrats have a vision, as horrible and as dystopian as it is. They have a vision. All the Republicans can offer in a race like Virginia is like, hey, we'll slow them down.
I think
Trump needs to go Lincoln on Virginia.
Based.
Well,
Not the first time the president needs to put down a rebellion in Virginia, and I would be okay with Trump to do it again.
Yeah.
he didn't endorse in this race, I believe, not because he didn't think he could help, but just because he thought it was a lost cause, and he doesn't like having that blip on his record.
Yeah.
On his endorsement record.
Yeah, as you were saying, conservatives love this like weird they do this liberal thing where they love identity politics for everyone except the people who vote for them. We're told that young white men are the only ones that are actually not allowed to have a heritage, which is a very weird, that's sort of the war that you kind of see inside of conservatism right now. It's like, well, we're okay with identity politics for everyone except like normal young Americans, right? That's not going to work. Either you're going to be like against identity politics, whatever. You're going to be against it in all cases. You can't have this like specific, we carve out for these people, but not for these people. That's not going to work.
I think one of the unique things about the president that we also take for granted, it was his ability to unite these disparate factions within the Republican Party.
Charlie was amazing at this.
Charlie was very good at it, but the Hawks, the religious conservatives, the business conservatives, the paleocons, he was really able to gather all these disparate factions behind him. And I suspect that we're actually heading towards a realignment and civil war within the Republican Party, and the next Republican candidate, presidential candidate, will struggle to really coalesce all these disparate factions as effectively as the president is. And I'm really concerned about Republicans snatching defeat from the jaws of victory with how they're running this, because
so famous for doing.
It's really all coming out now. And I suspect the Civil War and these cracks in the factions are only going to dig deeper as we continue. So
yeah, the table's already set for that. I mean, you've seen people over this last week already trying to poison the well for J.D. Vance, who, as it stands right now, would be a shoo-in for the Republican nominee and probably the presidency. And they're already trying to poison the well because there's people, it's a huge contingent, like I said, because the Republican Party has been defined as being the opposition party to a varying degree, the party of slowing the Democrats down, is there's a massive infrastructure in the right wing of like being contrarian, like just being natural contrarians. And so the fact that we're actually winning right now is actually terrifying to these people because they're so used to being a contrarian, where they're like, alarm bells are going off. It's like, oh, things are going well for us. Something must be wrong. And then they just dive into these bizarre conspiracies.
Oh, wow. We're winning. It's time to like start like firing on our own ranks, right? It doesn't make sense. I think I might take issue with that a lot. I think J.D. Vance did a Turning Point speech recently where he fielded a bunch of questions. It was on the Charlie Kirk tour or whatever. He was finishing it off. But he did, I think, a great job of fielding a lot of questions from these different warring factions. There were some uncomfortable questions there about Israel and his wife's faith and being in a interracial marriage. And I think he handled it with poise. I think J.D. Vance will be able to keep the coalition together, maybe not as well as Trump does, because Trump is like a really once-in-a-generation kind of political figure. But I have faith that J.D. Vance will be able to do that. I think it is more difficult that Charlie is out of the picture now.
Yeah, well, also like Vance is tapping into the secret sauce that Trump tapped into, and he was almost the first Republican to ever realize this. Is that like young white guys are actually pretty effective at like political activism and these sorts of things. Granted, a lot of it's online. And Trump was like the first Republican in a long time who actually like directly addressed their concerns and needs. And I think that's the secret sauce that Vance is not afraid to tap into as well. As you don't have to like go and stump or whatever and pander, but like actually just sit there and address their needs is very valuable. And Republicans just refuse to do this because they're still so paranoid of being perceived as like identity politics or racist or whatever.
I think there's so much going on with Vance, and I feel like there is a growing group of nativist and groyper types that do have, according to their ideology, like valid criticisms of the president. These guys are like not hyper religious, but very Catholic, and Vance converted to Catholicism. And I guess they are supposing like if you believe in these beliefs and if you believe that America's a Christian nation and whatnot, then, you know, how does that conflict with your wife being of a different belief? You know, I mean,
and it's the
whether or not you think that's fair game. I mean, she would be the first lady, and you're a public figure, and like, you know. Also, I feel like this Israel stuff isn't going anywhere. The anti-Israel sentiment is only increasing in the Republican Party, and it's going to fracture the Zionist part of the coalition, and it's also going to fracture the war hawk, the national security cons. Which, I mean, people like to joke around about how important of a you know, part of the coalition they are, but I think they're important. And I mean, we're coming on the heels of the death of Dick Cheney, who kind of represented the modern day peace through strength. And, you know, everybody manages to talk shit about his death online. The worst people could die. Nobody has anything bad to say about them. But when our former conservative Republican vice president passes away, everybody has a mouthful to say.
Well, the Usha attack line is the most bizarre one to me, because when they met and got married, Vance was an agnostic, so like the faith wasn't really an issue. And then he converted Catholicism after they were married. So the attack line makes no sense. Like, what do you want him to do? Divorce her? Like, is that what you wanted her to do?
They want, for Erica, that's what they want.
I'm like, not very Catholic of you. Last time I checked, you guys don't believe in divorce. Like, what are we doing here?
They want him to divorce her and him to sign the deportation papers to send her out of the country. And his kids, too. They want him to get rid of his kids. That's legitimately, there are people that are like, yo, we can't have Vance because he actually married this Indian woman. There are people that, now I don't know how influential they're going to be in the future, but they exist and they are vocal on the internet.
I think people don't, they have issues with Indians, and Usha Vance is an Indian, and I feel like anti-Indian racism is increasing. I don't know. Am I off base here?
I don't think that it's
am I unique in noticing this?
I don't think that it's just Indian.
I would qualify this with, so I worked in DFW at the Blaze for the past couple years, and you would be shocked at the amount of foreigners that are taking over in DFW. It's not like there are just like one or two just sprinkled in, and it's like entire neighborhoods are being taken over.
Narendra Modi came to visit, and he had
and it's not
filled an arena, and they were more excited to see him than President
and
Trump.
It's not necessarily like we need to have. You said like anti-Indian racism or whatever. It's like, no, it's not. I don't hate anyone. I just love America and Americans. And if these people are not coming here to like assimilate to our culture, but they're setting up like different shops and businesses and whatever that are all for and by their people as opposed to Americans, it's like, that is a problem.
Do you think Usha Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy assimilated?
The first polls have just come in from New York, and Mamdani is ahead by about, it looks like just about 12 points, just around there. So Cuomo is trailing by just shy of 100,000 votes so far with 0% reporting, but this is 818,000 votes in so far. So, oh boy. Right. Kalshi now has Mamdani at 99% to win.
Yeah, I mean, you see, I mean, this
98 right now.
This is like Captain Obvious moment, but if Mamdani is over 50%, then the Sliwa spoiler thing is just like a moot point.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's Captain Obvious moment, but it's true. Like all this hand wringing over Sliwa.
He's not going to finish at 8 He's not going to finish over 50%.
Yeah, him and well, it depends on where it got counted first, obviously.
Were you guys also
Right. So this is still preliminary.
Staten Island's gonna go heavy for Sliwa.
Were you guys unsettled by the amount of conservatives who were willing to fight this losing battle for a Democrat and kind of go all out for them?
Cuomo?
Yes.
Yeah, I was really shocked.
Cuomo should have dropped out and endorsed Sliwa.
Yeah, it was so
No,
ridiculous.
but the amount of conservatives who are lobbying for Sliwa to drop out and then just completely backing Cuomo as though Cuomo has never existed beyond
Right.
6 months ago is frankly, it's disgusting and it's pathetic. It's pathetic how
is why
sad Republicans are willing to like drop their guy and hop on board with a guy who literally hates their guts and would have called them a fascist.
Or kill their grandparents.
Curtis Lewa was also like counter-signaling the president a lot, and during these debates, he was saying that he wouldn't cooperate with ICE and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
because
he
Andrew
necessarily-
Cuomo's never counter-signaled the President Trump before.
Well, fine, but he's a Democrat, so you can expect that more than like if this guy's a Republican and we're supposed to be backing him, but he's not going to cooperate with like Trump's ICE deportations. I don't know if that's
He straight
a
up
guy-
said, "Don't deport illegal immigrants."
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a guy worth like throwing.
he was
away
trying to
behind.
counter-signal the president insofar as that's what you have to do in New York City to win.
Don't
So
care.
what does it matter if
literally don't
what does
care.
it matter if you don't back Cuomo then? Like,
Then, if that's the case, Donald Trump should intervene in New York and just take it over under some kind of emergency declaration. If the point is that they are going to keep bringing in illegal immigrants and giving them some kind of lawful entrant status to alter fundamentally the structure of our government and our election system, I call that seditious conspiracy, and Trump should go Lincoln on New York.
every single one of these sanctuary cities are, you have to think about it this way. Every illegal immigrant that the Democrats bring in, they are disenfranchising Americans. Every single one is further disenfranchising Americans of their votes and of their. Don't we care about democracy? Don't we care about like our democracy and what voting means? No,
they don't care about it either. Because when they say our democracy, they're not talking about democracy that includes conservatives or includes people that disagree with them. They're talking about only with the people that agree with them.
They're talking about something they own.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
They're
yes.
talking about they own democracy, and other people voting don't own democracy. That's why Donald Trump winning the popular vote, winning all of the swing states, and they still swear up and down that our democracy is
An attack on
in danger
democracy.
because they didn't get the democratic result that they wanted. It's not about democracy. They're full of it. They're lying to you. It's
Yes.
all about them retaining power.
Yeah. And to what Tim was saying, I don't know if it's necessarily time to go full Lincoln. Maybe that's not a bad idea, but I think why have none of these sanctuary cities been like the mayors, Mayor Brandon Johnson or Pritzker or Hochul? Why have they not been like charged? You are harboring illegal enemy, like you are harboring like illegal foreigners. It is an invasion. Okay. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Why have they not been charged? I don't know. Like, oh, we're just going to like go in there. Well, if they don't want to cooperate with ICE, then why do Democrats get to choose which laws they do and do not follow? Either we live in a republic and we talk like we have the rule of law, or we don't. And if we don't, then it's time to get serious. We need to step it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's just frustrating.
Well, and like, and it's on a variety of issues. Like, I mean, Elon Musk kind of propelled this talking point to the mainstream, and it's true. Is among the many things that are, destroying America with the current waves of immigration that are coming in. Like, the Democrats have huge incentive just from an electoral position because they can just import their own voter base. And yeah, so it's about accumulating power. There's so many incentives, obviously, for immigration especially if you're left wing, but yeah, fundamentally, it's like you can just import a voter. It doesn't matter what Republicans think.
You don't have to convince Americans anymore.
Right? Yeah, you can be like, oh,
you can say, hey, here's some free stuff that we're going to give you. Vote for me. Yeah, and it's over.
I do want to levy some criticism at Kalshi right now. Can we pull this up? Andrew Cuomo is listed as orange. Zoran Mamdani is blue. And there are orange numbers flying up across the board. At first glance, you'd assume orange represents Cuomo. That's not the case. So the presumption is, I guess orange means Cuomo and Mamdani at the same time, depending on which metric you're using. I don't know. That's a weird way to do it, Kalshi.
They're selling dollars for 99 cents right now.
But that can't be right, can it? All of those orange numbers mean people are betting on Cuomo to win, but Cuomo's numbers dropping? That would have to imply that the numbers we're seeing are bets on Zoran Mamdani. But Zoran's blue, not orange. So I guess it just plumb makes no sense. None.
This is a bloodbath for Republicans. Yep. Tonight is a horrible night as compared to 1 year ago. I think something.
Cuomo just increased.
But I don't think we
He's
should.
at 40% to Mamdani's 51.3. He just gained a couple decimal points.
But we're not necessarily learning anything tonight.
Jack's losing by 20 points right now, was it? In New Jersey. People were saying that was going to be the one that Republicans were going to be able to pick off.
Even though we're not.
Looks like they called it for Mamdani already.
Yeah. Well, figures. Yeah, but this isn't like we're not learning anything tonight. We're just learning that, blue states are going to stay blue. New York City is going to stay voting for increasingly left-wing politicians. Like, there's not really anything surprising tonight. It's just people got their hopes up.
There's one other thing on this election night that's worth mentioning that's coming up, Prop 50 in California. This was advanced by Gavin Newsom and the California State Legislature. This is essentially their redistricting program that they're voting on. It is extremely likely to pass, and this could totally offset all of President Trump's plan to redistrict in Texas. Just something worth mentioning and keeping in mind, too, on this important election night.
So to your point, the idea that this is not novel, I think that when you have a candidate like Mamdani, I think that makes the election novel in and of itself because of how far left he is.
I agree, but like what's going to happen after tonight is tomorrow you're going to see the entire commentary class just start blackpilling and dooming over this, and it's like, okay,
No. I'll go finish your point.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, a third worldist one in New York City. It's like, yeah, have you checked Wikipedia? You can see the demographic makeup of this. Like, it's not surprising at all.
I think it's important just to make sure everybody knows that I've always supported the Democrats. I think the Democrats are great. And when we go and start arresting all the Republicans for being fascists, I will help.
Say, Attorney General Jay Jones, I am a loyal Jonesian. What was Jonestown? I'm ready to start
Slava
Jonestown.
Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini.
3 bullets, two bullets, 3 dictators. I guess it's going for Gilbert.
Disavow for the record.
Are we allowed to say that if I'm quoting him?
I'm not
I was
sure.
Are
joking.
you allowed to quote the AG of Virginia? It's a tough question, YouTube. Are you? Are you allowed to quote the Attorney General of Virginia?
Right. When he was reading that earlier, I was like, I wonder if this is a TOS violation. I'm like, no, this is a statement from the Attorney General of Virginia.
Welcome to a brave new world.
Well, he said 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. This is really an endorsement of Hitler.
He said, indeed.
This is an endorsement of Hitler.
Yeah, because by all accounts, not that this, obviously this is crazy by any stretch, but also Gilbert was like a very normal Republican. Like, I think they just had like some personal bad blood, I suppose, because dude, like, that's what everybody was saying. I think it was Bannon had brought on like a Virginia election expert, and they're like, Gilbert was not perceived as this like grating figure on the left. He was like a very normal Republican guy. So it's kind of to the point of like, if that's how they talk about Gilbert, imagine how they're talking about like
Actual
guys
patriots.
that are movers and shakers. Yeah, actual verified patriots.
I think there's also something to say about some influencers deciding to float out there that people shouldn't vote and that you shouldn't vote until the CIA gets down to the bottom of whatever happens with Charlie Kirk and, whoever's involvement is found out and whatnot.
Yeah, Kirk famous for telling people to abstain from voting for the Republic. Like, what are we doing here? We're
Feels
just
a little bit
spitting on the
ironic.
grave of this man.
Yeah, almost like a Trojan horse for the left.
Yeah?
Yeah, there is a lot. There is a lot of self-sabotage. I mean, we saw this kind of going up to the election too, like people saying, "Oh, like it's all over. Trump isn't going to do anything." Things are much. What'd you say? Oh no, things are much better than we can imagine. If Kamala had won, they would probably have already imported another like 3 million people at least. There would be
An amnesty deal on the table.
There would have been with help from Republicans.
Yep.
But all
by
that
the
stuff's
way.
coming. All that stuff's coming. All that stuff will come with the next election, unless a Republican wins. And it looks like in the fall of next year, the Republicans are going to get trounced. The Democrats are going to take control of probably the House, possibly the Senate. They're going to try to impeach Trump. They're at least going to stymie any efforts the Republicans make on having any kind of policy for the next 2 years. And then at the end of that 2 years, when it comes time to vote for president, I don't know who's going to be running, but I don't see how the Republicans will win.
Well, that's why Prop 50 matters so much in California, because it's like, look, the strategy for Republicans is going to have to be, If they want to gerrymander, we have to gerrymander. And it's like, look, if they can squeeze a few more House seats out of California, it makes the path forward in the midterms much trickier.
We also have the Voting Rights Act in the Supreme Court,
Right.
and if they are
It's like
able
13.
if they are able to gut that, that would be a huge victory. I think that would be a much bigger victory for President Trump than overturning Roe. If he could get rid of the Voting Rights Act, that would be ginormous.
The expectation is that it will be gone.
Yeah,
Right.
hopefully,
But-
as long as one of these people don't squish. But
What the expectation then is Democrats are going to do the same thing.
well,
So we're going to see California go pure blue. There's some other Democrat states that are projected to drop a bunch of Republican seats. The expectation is still that with the Voting Rights Act going away, Republicans will get an advantage. They'll get more seats.
well, they would, because you would wipe out a ton of the Democrat political power in the South,
Right.
Which is
So
unearned by them.
Right. Democrats are still going to redistrict and get more seats. The voting rights, what's going to happen is it's going to hyperpolarize further. You will have entire states under single party rule, and there will be no representation for Republicans. Republicans will flee. Over the next several years, hyperpolarization is going to exponentially increase, especially with the election of Zohran Mamdani. This means that here's how it's going to work. Let's say you got a state, and most people are somewhere in the middle. Then you get a communist who wins somehow. The right-leaning people leave, and that means the median of the state shifts leftward a dramatic amount. Now the debate is between liberals and leftists because conservatives have left the equation. The debate recenters around a further left, which results in more moderate liberals, disaffected liberals leaving, which is people like me and where we were a few years ago. You end up then with California, Washington, Oregon, New York, and Illinois becoming literally socialist. And this will push more and more people who are slightly liberal or moderate away, and they will get increasingly more communist. They will then get communist members of Congress who will legitimately be in Congress as communists and socialists. The squad will amplify tenfold, and it's because the districts in these states are now represented solely by communists, and there's no opposition to them in those states. Then the rest of us, who are constitutional Republican, pro-America, will be constantly having to debate and push back literal communists. This trend will result in geographic hyperpolarization, results in conflict at the federal level. Then it's going to all be political gamesmanship and no real debate because communists and anti-communists are never going to agree on anything. And then people start shooting each other. Considering it is an official position of the AG of Virginia now to murder conservatives, I think we're in for a dark future much more quickly than we realized. I got to be honest, I didn't think Jay Jones could win. I thought I thought it was scary that he dropped 3 points in the polls following the revelation he wants to murder conservatives and their children. Now that he's actually won and handily, it says a lot about what Democrats actually want. And I am sick and tired of the Republican Party. They are feckless and worthless. And I don't even know what the point of supporting them at this point is. Now, I get it. It's because you don't want Democrats to win. Mm-hmm. But we need to get rid of every Republican and primary all of them because they are spineless losers that are arguing with the guys that are stabbing them in the back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why the battle, the table, like I was saying earlier, the table's been set for the primary, is because this is how you finally push out this spineless, graceful losers out of the party.
Beautiful losers.
Beautiful losers out of the party. Because it's like they're still hanging on. They're still present. I mean, you know, they're throwing up really unimpressive candidates like Winsome Sears. And it's like, until their access to power within the Republican Party is completely removed, they're going to keep trying it. They really want to go back to the pre-Trump era, and they're still around. They've rebranded. They can speak our language a little more, but they're still everywhere.
Yeah, you have a lot of these guys that are like calling themselves. They love to shift like to calling themselves America First, even though they know that's popular among. It sounds popular and good among Republican voters, but they're the furthest thing from America First. I think. I don't think the situation is hopeless or that we need to necessarily be black-pilled.
Pretty black-pilled.
Totally. I don't think we need to. I think like I loved J.D. Vance's speech. For people who did not watch J.D. Vance's Turning Point speech, it was phenomenal. You should go watch it. But the thing that he closed his speech with was paying tribute to Charlie's life, and he said, "Despair is a sin. You have to get involved, okay? If you care about this country, you should go get involved and do what you can, even if it's just if you go knock a couple doors, if you go and help out a campaign as much as you can. There is a small part that we can all play together to make this country better." And I think the despair and some of that stuff really is detrimental to our side.
I think the election of Jay Jones in Virginia is the most shocking development in our generation. That a man could say these things and win. And Democrats have made clear in Virginia, they not only that, but the man didn't lose any endorsements and his polls barely dropped. I think it's time that the Republicans in this country wake up to what Democrats are telling you. I will say it again. The election of Jay Jones, I believe, is one of the most shocking developments on par with some of the biggest political scandals in the history of this country.
I think we need to get back to real politics again. You know, Congress, we used to have congressmen who would literally duel each other. They would challenge each other to duels. Like, I want to get back to real politics, and I think part of our issue is that the modern world is it's become so feminized that we don't think about, like...
Those duels were fake, though. Typically, when someone challenged...
You had people throwing punches in Congress.
That was always considered abhorrent. In typical duels, people would aim away and intentionally miss. There were a few instances where, with Hamilton and Burr, I think Hamilton aimed away as what most people did. The point of the duel was that you defended your honor, but you didn't actually kill each other. But Burr was like, nope, bang.
Yeah.
So while duels existed a long time ago, it got to a point where they were somewhat figurative, and then the younger generation, as it were at the time, abolished dueling because it was barbaric. I do want to add, we are now officially in the if Sliwa dropped out and endorsed Cuomo would have won territory. Mamdani's at 49.7. If you were to take all of Sliwa's votes and give them to Cuomo, it would be tied.
I do think that's a bit of a big ask, but yes. Mathematically, I don't know if Slee were to drop out of the race. I don't know if all the Republicans, would hold their tongues and voting for Cuomo.
I don't know. If I was in New York, I don't think I'd vote for Cuomo.
There's a lot of Republicans with a lot of bad blood towards Andrew Cuomo, who was their governor for some time, designed in disgrace, and then obviously had that really bad time during COVID where he was fighting with the president, and then he sent a bunch of, I believe, let me put an allegedly on that, where he sent sick old people back to their nursing homes to continue spreading COVID to other people in the nursing home.
No, it wasn't old people. It was just patients in general. And we were wondering why sick people were being sent to nursing homes. It made no sense.
I'm pretty sure he was apologizing for that today. He was making some last-minute plea on Fox News to, I'm sorry about the nursing home scandal. I don't know. Yeah, well, I might be a little bit too late for that, but
Sliwa is honestly more fundamentally an anti-Cuomo vote than an anti-Mamdani vote, because it's like, look, if you really cared about keeping Mamdani out, you would vote for Cuomo. So a vote for Sliwa is just saying, no, F you, Cuomo. I'm not gonna, jump on the bandwagon here. So, this idea that Cuomo, like you're saying, that Cuomo's votes automatically would go that Sliwa's votes would automatically go to Cuomo is just like, the reason you vote for Sliwa is because you hate Cuomo.
So also, Sliwa had every incentive to stay in the race. It increases his name ID, which helps him for his radio show, which will get him a bigger contract there. As I mentioned earlier, New York City has 8-to-1 matching funds, and then he picks where those donations are ultimately spent for his campaign. He has a lot of friends and family, allegedly, who are helping on the campaign. And it feels like a racket. I'm not saying it is, but it seems like a way for him to line him and his friends' pockets every year at the expense of the American taxpayer and ultimately the Republican Party, at least in New York.
Well, I mean,
if you're getting 8-to-1 matching funds, for every $250 that one of your supporters sends to you, you get $1,750 additional tax dollars that you're able to decide where to spend on just increasing your name ID as a politician. It's like, why would I drop out? I'm a politician. I have a huge ego. Obviously, I want my name out there. This benefits me. Maybe it'll help me in the next mayoral race.
How many times does Slee will run?
More than 3 or 4. He runs every 2 years. He's like a gadfly, political gadfly.
NBC has an exit poll. The poll was, if only Mamdani and Cuomo were running, who would you have voted for? 6% of people said, I just wouldn't vote. So it's like, Yeah, people are going to try and, rake Sliwa through the coals here. But the reality is, like, these people are just, a good chunk of them are not going to vote for
Look,
Cuomo.
it's so disgusting, again, how conservatives were willing to fight this losing battle on behalf of Democrats against this socialist. If New Yorkers want a socialist, give them a socialist, let them go through a socialist struggle, and they will come back. Okay,
They
will
won't.
come back for it, Julia. You're gonna have to let it burn, baby. Like Usher said, you just got to let it burn.
The voting
That's how
base
it's got to
is-
be sometimes.
The voting base is gone.
That's what they want. No, but things will change, and the immigrant will change how immigration is done in New York
no,
City.
no, about
And
that.
moreover,
Listen, history says you're wrong. When socialist policies don't work, they don't say, well, let's try. Like, the only time that I can think of where people said, let's try something different was in Argentina. And that was after, 30 years of
after the
socialist
economy
policies?
collapsed.
I think the shit will hit the fan, and then the pendulum will swing. Also, if I'm any Republican outside of New York City, I am loving this. Mamdani will be my permanent foil no matter who I run against. I will be running against Mamdani as a socialist, and this will be a drag on the Democrats nationwide. This can only work in New York City, and let him go for
It
it.
won't work because, look at because Mamdani would position America to be like South Africa. And look at South Africa. Everything goes wrong. Everything goes terribly. And the voters there, instead of saying, maybe we should vote for the DA, the whatever party, instead they just go, maybe we're not being African nationalist enough. Voters that are voting for Mamdani, if he fails, they're going to say, maybe we just weren't resentful enough.
We
Maybe
didn't
need to
get.
get
We didn't
meaner.
socialism hard enough.
I
That's what
think-
it happens. It happens. It's happened all over the world with different societies that have different cultures, different backgrounds, and the result is always the same. The policies don't work, so they say we need to institute more of the same policies. They never say, "Oh, we should try going back to free market and giving people more actual liberty," because the argument that the socialists make are we're going to do this for the people. We're making people free by having these policies. We're helping to liberate you. The arguments that they make are totally disaligned with the reality of the policies that they implement, and so the people continue to believe it, and they vote for more and more and more. They never vote to have to restore power to the individuals.
Yeah, once freedom's gone, it's not easy to vote yourself back into freedom.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Elaad. I think Republicans will use him as a scapegoat nationally, and that probably will help them. The issue I think I have is that we should not be saying, this is a problem with socialism. Why did all these young people start supporting socialism? The problem is that this guy is from Uganda. He's a foreigner who hates America. The first thing he does is he shows up to New York City and gives the middle finger to a Christopher Columbus statue. The nerve of these people is out of control. And this is not a cautionary tale about socialism. This is a cautionary tale about letting these people into your country with no vetting, no assimilation, no discrimination at all against it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're from Uganda, you're going to assimilate as well as a farmer from South Africa. No, that's not the case. We need to seriously address Muslim immigration in this country. So it's not a problem of conservatives have been dancing around this for so long. It's a socialism problem. No, it's an immigration problem.
Right.
Young men broke massively for the Democrats.
Right. Well,
NBC News exit polling: men 18 to 29, Spanberger plus 14, Scher plus 10, Mamdani plus 40.
because it's just what are the Republicans offering for young men? So it's what's the incentive there? And to Logan's point too, it's America's flirted with socialism before. People don't realize there was a socialist party, La Follette, and then a lot of people evaluated and said, actually, it's probably a bad idea. The problem is this is an entirely new paradigm. This isn't about Sharia law. This isn't about socialism. This is about third world resentment. And that's what we're dealing with. And people will not get that out of their heads because New York City's demographics have been radically altered. And these people are going to continue to vote for this. This happened in South Africa. This has happened elsewhere. It's not going to, you're not going to there's no debate club. There's no pocket constitution that you can give to them. And they'll be I was totally wrong with the socialism. No, they're thinking.
You can't bring in non-Americans and then tell them to vote and then be surprised when your country implodes.
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Very simple. And also, while we're on the subject of socialism, I saw a headline the other day that 40 million people are going to lose SNAP benefits. Why are 40 million people on SNAP? That sounds pretty socialist to me. These welfare programs sound like we are conducting a little bit of now I'm not against a social safety net. That's not what I'm arguing against. But 40 million people in our country taking these SNAP benefits, that's crazy.
Right. Well, it's a reward system from the Democrats. If only the
Yes, it is.
if only the
Yeah,
Republicans
yes, it
could
is.
create something similar for their voters, because the Democrats they sweeten the pot for Democrats. When have Republicans done that?
The Republican Party. I was talking to a Republican guy a few months ago, and he said he was a fan of the show, and then he argued with me something about, that we said on the show or whatever, and he's like, I love your show, but you said this, that, or other. I can't remember what the actual argument was. I just responded with, that's really funny that you like the show, you're a fan, and you're arguing with me that I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's why Republicans lose, because Democrats are retarded. And I'll give you a good example. Zoran Mamdani has no authority to make buses free, nor to make them go faster. That is not the purview of the mayor. So when he comes, he runs for office, and he says, I'll give you free money, people go, I'm the vote for him. And they do. Republicans can't compete with that, because Republicans are like, here's what happens. A Republican, or let's just say an intelligent person, sees two candidates. Mamdani goes, I'll give you free stuff. And he goes, you can't. That's a lie. The Republican then says, well, it's going to be tough, but I'll do my best to try and drive prices down with a few policies I can control in the mayor's office. They go, oh, okay, I'll vote for that guy. All the retarded people go, but he said free stuff. I'm going to vote for him. Mamdani can't actually deliver on any of those things, but stupid people can keep voting. Smarter people are going to flee because stupid people are taking over, and then you're going to get New York idiocracy.
Yeah. It's the only reason Chitterelli was even in this race, was because so many people have fled New York City. They still had a gig in Manhattan, so they moved to...
Is it time for me to run for office and just double down? Like I was making the joke.
Please.
My buses won't be free. They'll pay you. Every time you get on my bus in New York, a $5 bill will pop out into your pocket.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that Republicans do desperately need to get better at, though, like Tate was alluding to.
Buying votes?
Patronage, yes, buying votes. That in a mass democracy, I'm sorry, we may not like it, but that is what is going to win you elections, is buying votes and looking out and taking care of your people, okay? So we might not enjoy it, but free buses does sound more like appealing to the average voter than what is courteously, maybe cleaning up crime is fine, but...
Yeah,
a lot of people are going to vote for the free stuff over the cleaning up the subway.
Yeah, the Treasury's being raided right now, so it's like you got to play ball.
If you're voting, if you're offering free stuff to votes, are you a conservative? Right? Are you a Republican if you're doing the same thing that Democrats are doing? Because this sounds to me just like, well, we're going to do what the Democrats are doing, but we're going to do it at the speed limit. It's the Michael Malice argument.
To a degree, no, but it's more that the average Republican voter is really concerned about A, being killed, but B, like social issues, et cetera, et cetera. It's like Logan said, it's more about you're just not going to win unless you create a patronage network, and it doesn't have to look like handouts. It's just like you gotta like make it worthwhile for a Republican to turn out and vote.
No, you're building a constituency.
We're going to go to your chats and rants, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Make sure you get those Rumble rants and Super Chats in. Before we do, get a great sponsor for you guys. It is Crowd Health. It is open enrollment, the season where health insurance companies hope you'll blindly sign up again for overpriced premiums and confusing fine print. Don't just take someone else's word. Trust yourself and take control of your future with Crowd Health, the healthcare alternative for people who make their own decisions. You can go to joincrowdhealth.com and use promo code TIM. Remember, though, Crowd Health is not insurance. Opt out, take your power back. It's how we win. Healthcare for under $100. You get access to a team of health bill negotiators, low-cost prescription and lab testing tools, as well as a database of low-cost, high-quality doctors vetted by Crowd Health. And what if something major happens? You pay the first $500 and the Crowd steps in to help fund the rest. It feels like the options we used to have before Obamacare messed everything up. And of course, you'll join the Crowd, a group of members just like you who want to help pay for each other's unexpected medical events. The system is betting you'll stay stuck in the same overpriced, overcomplicated mess. And this year, it's even more complicated because most of the ACA subsidies expire, which means your prices are going sky high. So far, Crowd Health members have saved over $40 million in healthcare expenses because they refuse to overpay for healthcare. This open enrollment, take your power back. Join Crowd Health to get started for just $99 for your first 3 months using code TIM at joincrowdhealth.com. Remember, Crowd Health is not insurance. Opt out. Take your power back. It's how we win. Join crowdhealth.com, code TIM. But let's grab your rants and chats. And oh boy, do we have some good ones. Black Pringle with a big Rumble rant saying the discount code for the router isn't working. We are on it, and they are trying to figure out what went wrong. But we'll get it going for you guys if you're interested in the anyone.io. All right. Thart says, Phil, you deserve to add that baby flex to your introduction.
So true.
It's true.
Thank you very much.
Eric Tate says he tried the code TIM for anyone IO, and it said it didn't work. It didn't work. So we are working to get that fixed. Apologies. Let's see. What is this? Did I read her? I don't know what it says. Please get Immortal Technique on the show to talk about New York City and debate. You know, every single time I have these conversations with liberals, they don't know what they are talking about. They don't. Like, look, with all due respect to Brian Shapiro, nice guy, but when he debated Donald Trump's felonies, he said he didn't know anything about it. I was talking to this old guy recently, and I said, let me ask you a question. Have you read a single indictment of Donald Trump? And he says, no, why would I? It's like, well, you act like you care about it, but you clearly don't. If you really cared, you'd have read the indictments, wouldn't you have? You can't argue that you care about something if you don't even bother to read it. This is the problem with debating libs. What motivates liberals is fitting in. That's what I've found. 80% of liberals that I have a debate with, their response is typically, why won't you just do what everyone else is doing? It's the stupidest argument imaginable. But hey, it makes smarter libs rich. Hops and Brew says, so should we leave blue states so that they, because ultra blue, and move to red, so they become ultra red, or so stay and fight within the state? You left to a redder state. I don't know what you are trying to say because I think there's a bunch of typos. So should we leave blue states so that they, because ultra blue, so that they become ultra blue and move to red states so that they will become ultra red, or stay and fight within the state? I don't know if you meant or not. Indeed. Yeah. Listen, there ain't no way if I lived in Virginia, I'd be gone. I would have already been looking at properties to get out of Virginia when I saw the signs for Jay Jones. This is a man. You know what, man? If I need to explain this to you guys at this point, I wish you the best. They arrested Trump's lawyers. The moment they arrested Trump's lawyers, you should have realized where this was going. They outright said the rule of law doesn't apply anymore. Lawyers are constitutionally protected. We have a Bill of Rights protecting our right to legal representation. Trump hired lawyers to make arguments in court for him, and they arrested them. Democrats in Georgia and Wisconsin, I think maybe in other states as well. In New York, they falsely accused Trump of felonies, and you know they did. What do you think this AG who wants to murder your children will do with the power he gets? Now, because Republicans are stupid, not all of them, but many, what's going to happen is you're going to hear a story. And it's going to be something like Virginia man arrested for terroristic threats. And you won't think twice and you won't pay attention, nor will you read the indictment, and no one will really talk about it. And it's going to turn out what actually happened is there's going to be a Republican who said he was voting for Trump, and he gets framed by the AG and put in prison and beaten mercilessly, and you'll never know about it. I talked about the reason why I won't go to Chicago. 13 years ago, my friends and I were driving through Chicago when we got pulled over by like 12 vehicles at gunpoint. They pulled us out, illegally searched us, and then told us we matched a vehicle and kicked us off. Later that day, when we went back to our apartment, the doors were open, the alarm was going off, and I set up basic OPSEC to prevent us being targeted or framed for any reason. Long story short, someone tried planting Adderall in our car while on the police scanners, police were looking for our vehicle. Not an exaggeration. You can read about components of this story on NBC News as they discuss our arrival in Chicago, as well as us getting pulled over at gunpoint. What's to stop you driving through Virginia? You get pulled over, and a communist state trooper walks up to your car and says, I think I see drugs in the back of your vehicle. Out of the vehicle. It was in plain view. And then he holds up a bag and says, look what I found. When you go to prison, they'll just say, this isn't political. We're not going after. He had cocaine. It's illegal. And who's going to defend you? No one from it is that easy. And you may be saying, Tim, you're paranoid. I implore you, look up the story from NBC in Chicago about how we were pulled over and surrounded by 12 vehicles, most of them unmarked at gunpoint, and ultimately culminating in someone trying to plant Adderall in our car. And then ask yourself, if they were willing to shoot Charlie Kirk in the neck, what would they be willing to do to you to get rid of a high-profile target? So maybe it's paranoia, but just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not after you. Let's grab some more. Freak Talk says, with Trump endorsing Cuomo, what are the chances that he did so to troll the voters into voting for Mamdani to win and then using the anti-communist laws in the books to keep NYC in line? Never going to happen. Trump's not going to do anything like that. The Republicans aren't going to get rid of the filibuster. And if Democrats win, they'll get rid of the filibuster. It is the stupidest thing in the world where these Republicans are like, but if we get rid of the filibuster, Democrats can then have carte blanche. You mean if the Democrats win, they'll get rid of the filibuster either way. Now is your only opportunity to do something. But, you know, that's Republicans for you. Sailor Matoko says, honestly, this might be the best thing that could have happened to us for 2026. 2020 was the best thing that could have happened for 24. I just hope it's used for motivation and not dooming. Fair point.
Yeah.
Because Trump lost in 2020, he came back with a vengeance and has done quite a bit more than we expected him to. Maybe this is the perfect thing for the midterms. You're going to see Mamdani, and maybe New York doesn't learn their lesson. But as Elaad was pointing out, other people might look at New York and then say, holy crap, we better vote Republican. I'm not convinced because it's going to be geographic hyperpolarization. I fear what's more likely to happen is that in Virginia, in California, in blue states, what little red they have left will disappear and they'll become entrenched, getting more seats in Congress because Republicans are going to flee out of fear of persecution.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Spike says Kansas House Speaker Dan Hawkins had ended the push to redraw House seats in Kansas. Weak Republicans like him and Randy Fine must be kicked out. Doss Wood says that's why Cuomo ran, to take votes from Sliwa and ensure a commie's reign. Watch for Cuomo to get cushy, high-paying media job and book a deal in the near future for his subservience. Yep. Lord have mercy. All right, let's grab some more. What do we got going on here? Millennial Mama says, feed me, daddy government. Feed me, Chance the No Kings crowd. Seriously, though, blessing boxes are a great community response to hunger issues. If there isn't one in your area, start one. Sam Borghini says, don't worry about Cheney. He does this every few years. He'll be on Fox in a few weeks, LOL. Brian, let's see. What does it say? BR Tidewell? Tim, shout out to the Discord. The conversation in VC3 has been going 4.5 days now. Wow. That's a long time. It's a long time. All right. What does it say? Dieter. In Virginia, you can vote 45 days before the election. This must change because you can't change it. This must change because you can't change it back. I don't know. What do you mean by that?
I think he was talking about how the Jay Jones thing occurred after a lot of people had already cast their ballot.
Yep.
Early voting.
Oh, you can't change your vote back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
That's why early voting exists. It's Democrats trying to cheat.
Yep.
All right.
1 day of voting, paper ballots. That's it.
And also, this doesn't mean, like, because Republicans learned their lesson on this, thankfully, but they're like, here's how we spite early voting is everyone show up on election day. Well, if you saw today in New Jersey where there was bomb threats and that obviously tampered with the turnout, if you like put all your eggs in the basket of 1 day, you're kind of something like that could happen and then you're cooked. So it's like, okay, yes, it sucks that this exists and we should be pushing to get rid of it, but you kind of have to play ball here. Like, it's that you're not going to spite them by voting on this. It doesn't make any sense.
Don't disadvantage yourself for no reason.
Exactly.
Isa says, Tim, I believe the results tonight, along with the spinelessness of the Republicans, tell us how the midterms will turn out. It may actually be over. I fought every day just for weak men around me to sit and do nothing. You know, you can doom all you want. I think there's nothing wrong with being realistic and making moves accordingly. I will say this. I am stunned by the victory of Jay Jones. I did not think that he would win. I thought that he only dropped a few points, which was terrifying, but that it was going to be enough to knock him out of the race. And he won. Because either you have complicit people, you have bloodthirsty psychopathic Democrats, or you have a largely retarded, ignorant base that doesn't know or care. Either way, all of those things spell disaster. I hope you are all considering what you are seeing over the past several years and what happens if this continues, and hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Indeed. Because holy crap, what's going to happen if in 2026 Democrats win? We aren't talking about tax policy changing or abortion laws. We're talking about prison, committees, subpoenas. Look at what they did to Navarro and Bannon. If they get the House, they will create committees and they will use subpoena power to put people in prison and they'll perjury trap you. Nothing you can do. And Trump and the Republicans won't do anything about it. All right. Radon says, "Well, I wouldn't vote for wouldn't vote for Mamdani because of his policies. I also couldn't vote for Cuomo because of the people he let die, because he shoved COVID patients in nursing homes instead of utilizing the USNS Comfort docked at the harbor in New York in 2020. Yeah, indeed. New York was cooked. What are you going to do?" Gray says, "I am very happy that you brought in last night's guest, a perfect example of the entitled Easterner that gets subsidized by those of us in Western Canada. The U.S. owes Canada nothing. We owe you our thanks. P.S. It's 2025 and Trevor still sucks." Last night, with all due respect to Mark Grimes, he was arguing for how the United States needs Canada for aluminum, for example. And in real time, I looked it up, and as it turns out, Canada has no bauxite mines. None. Why are we importing aluminum from a country with no bauxite mines? It makes no sense. Canada imports from Guinea, Brazil, Australia, and China, built refineries that sells the aluminum to the United States. I got an idea. Let's cut out the middleman, build refineries in the United States, and then import the bauxite ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have a bauxite mining in Arkansas as it is. So we don't even need to import all of it.
Yeah, we effectively subsidize the existence of Canada purely
Yep.
through our defense budget. Like if we weren't here, if we weren't this natural force field around them, Russia and China would be all on their bumper. Like it would be absolutely ridiculous. So if anything, these guys should just be like thanking us and glazing us. But unfortunately, like Canada's existence is like the way they conceptualize themselves as a nation is just anti-American. Like they have a monarchy, not because they feel this like, this tradition with our British roots. No, they have a monarchy because it's what America doesn't have. And so that's what they can define themselves. Because just as a nation, they're immensely insecure because there's no two countries on earth more similar to the United States and Canada, at least culturally. And so like that insecurity drives everything up there. And yeah, they need to go.
We got this from Riley Butts. "Wasn't Tim just laughing with Gavin about Trump shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue? Why the faux outrage?" First of all, it's spelled F-A-U-X, not F-O. And no, I wasn't. That's it. I don't play these stupid games where the actual context was Donald Trump as chief law enforcement officer personally enforcing the law and stopping bad guys would be a good thing. It's not Donald Trump walking out shooting a random person. But I appreciate you lying because this is what they do, right?
It's just stupid people.
Xerxes says, "Tim, are you ready to call Kash Patel the biggest disappointment in all of government? Epstein, Charlie Kirk, now firing people over his girlfriend. Total joke." Honestly, no. Is that a joke? Am I supposed to go talk about Comey and Chris Wray and celebrate that? Yeah, sorry. Kash Patel is magnitudes better than all of them. And whatever your concern is about Kash, it's nothing compared to those guys.
Yeah. And also, like, look, let's just, even if you had these crazy concerns over Cash and Bongino and Bondi or whatever, it's like, how do you expect to get someone else in right now? Like, do you know how hard it was to get those guys across the finish line? So what the Republicans are going to do is they're going to grab guys that are way worse than them because they know that they'll satiate Democrats and they can. So all you're going to get is a downgrade. I think they're fine, but you're going to get a massive downgrade if you actually toss these guys out.
That's one thing that I continually hear people complaining about Bongino or about Pam Bondi or what have you. I don't know that there are people that are going to be better. Like the
You're gonna get another Bill Barr.
Yeah, I mean the option is not like some superhero that comes in that does all the things that you want day one and everything is perfect for you. Like we live in the situation that we are in this is probably the best that you're gonna get.
Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Thank you.
There's not a button on Kash Patel's desk that says fix everything. Like that'd be great, but there's not. Like the entire intel apparatus has been targeting right wingers for 50, 60 years. It's going to take a little time to reorient it. I'm not happy about it. I'm not thrilled. Is there things that they could be doing differently? Sure. But you got to cut them like a little bit of slack because it's like you're having to reorient this massive. I mean, look how many firings we have to conduct, and there's still so much swamp creatures floating around in the intel community. So
Unknown Error says America suffers from amnesia. And that's why I brought up the Palmetto cheese, Because I remember when that guy who runs that company simply said he supported Trump, and for that they tried removing his products from stores and destroying his life. There was a period only a few years ago where no one would publicly admit they supported Donald Trump. They all had to lie and pretend. That's crazy. You know what Gavin McInnes told me? He walks down the street and people shout him out, give him hugs, and take selfies with him. That's an amazing change that we've seen. So my fear is that Democrats are entrenching. They're beginning to embrace violence explicitly, and I think that was predictable for some time. If Republicans don't pay attention to this, we're cooked. We are cooked. Robert R. says, I'm a conservative who hates corruption. I'm about to start blaming Republicans if they won't exercise power to tamp it out with real consequences. Prison. Election wins mean nothing if we can't use power when we have it. There's a saying. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. This does not just apply to a government that refuses to listen to your ridges of grievances. It also applies to when people vote for a party asking them to solve the problem and that party does not do it. Making peaceful revolution impossible is typically implied to mean a totalitarian government stops peaceful protest. But it also means when you vote for a government to make a change and they refuse to do it. And after 20 years of this, people snap and say voting is changing nothing. The corrupt still walk free and anarcho-tyranny still rules the streets. It terrifies me as to what happens when conservatives finally go full Democrat. Democrats are already ready to murder, and they are murdering. But what happens when Republicans say, okay, sure, fine, whatever, and they start playing similarly? I think one of the reasons we haven't seen a mass escalation of conflict is because Democrats still believe that Republicans are stupid enough to trick to steal power from. They're not wrong, so they don't need to escalate too much. But because Republicans have won a bit, they have escalated, like killing Charlie Kirk. If Republicans basically say enough and start exercising power to the degree they should, I think Democrats go ham and just start unloading on people. I should say leftists and liberals. Boomers, I mentioned this old guy I've been talking to. He's, older boomers are tapped out, have no idea what's going on, and are basically just voting for the psychotic communists because they're too stupid to realize what's happening. We had this funny moment where this guy was wearing one of those shirts where it's like, in this house, we believe Black Lives Matter, women's rights are human rights. And he said he wasn't a liberal, he was a centrist. And I said, no, you're far left. And he was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, your shirt. I was like, you want me to go through it point by point and explain to you what all these things are? Love is love. And I was like, the references these things are making. And basically, we were playing poker. Everybody at the table was like, yeah, Tim's right. Like, you, and I said, listen, he's like, well, it doesn't mean that to me. And I said, sure, if you bought a swastika and claimed it was a Hindi symbol, I'm sure you could convince a lot of people not to punch you in the face. But let's be real. You're wearing a far left shirt. Doesn't matter if you know what it means or otherwise. It's like when Homer put on that Rastafarian cap. All right, let's grab some more. Pat Meadows says something that the Trump admin could do is to move the military bases stationed in blue states into red states. This would move a lot of the voting Republicans out of the blue states by necessity. It would also remove a ton of funding. Government creates economies because we take money from groups of people and then we move that money into areas like military bases or government offices. If you shut down those offices, you pull a lot of money from those areas.
It's what cracks me up with Hawaiians that are always like chest beating over American, like, oh, the Americans overthrew our country, everything. It's like, dude, your entire state is dependent on the U.S. Navy. So it's like, maybe tone it down. You know, I could say some mean things about Hawaiians that I won't say, but it's like, relax, all right? Like, we're subsidizing the entire existence of your state, so...
Miguel says, what more can viewers like ourselves and content creators, online personalities like yourselves do, in your opinion, to help MAGA succeed in the midterms? I don't know. I wonder about what's going to happen. How Democrats ended up winning handily across the board. It's going to make an interesting postmortem. That being said, I still don't believe midterms are a foregone conclusion, though. With the sweep right now, the prediction markets have just skyrocketed for Democrats to win in the midterms.
Yep.
So we'll see. But I don't know. I don't know. I think the media is dying more and more every day, and that's going to have a profound impact on what people truly think and believe, and maybe that will change things. But again, we'll see.
Tell 5 people you know to go vote. That's something you can do.
I says, sorry, Tim, wasn't trying to doom, just disappointed. Indeed, for me, it's not really disappointment. It's just, wow, Jay Jones actually won. I don't think people, we are desensitized. Let's play the time travel game. Go back 10 years to 2015 and tell someone 10 years from now, Democrats will vote for an attorney general who explicitly called for the murder of his rival's children and the killing of conservatives. And they'll say, you're nuts. It's never going to happen. It's not possible. I know because I had those conversations. And we are here now. The AG of Virginia wants to kill you. He's going to come out and say whatever he wants. Grok will lie to you. Grok endorsed the Democrats, by the way, today. You probably saw it. Grok said he never said those things. And then when I said, actually, here's the quotes. Yes, but you misunderstand what he's saying. I'm just like, wow, Grok, why are you campaigning for a guy who explicitly stated he wants to see conservatives dead? That's where we're going. That's what's going to happen. My friends, we're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show, which is going to get probably a bit crazy. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Join us. Go to timcast.com, click join us. Community is our strength. We want to see you there. Members of the Discord community get access to the Friday backstage pre-record from 1 until 4 p.m. You don't want to miss it. And you even get to call into the show Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. So head over to rumble.com/Timcast IRL for the uncensored show. Make sure you join Rumble Premium, because the first few minutes are free, and then it locks you out if you're not a Rumble Premium member. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Good sir. You want to shout anything out?
Logan Clark Hall on Twitter. Go follow.
Right on.
And the Blaze, of course.
There you go.
Yep.
Elaad Eliyahu, White House correspondent and resident neocon here at Timcast. Quick little tidbit on Dick Cheney, because I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention anything. Dick Cheney was a patriotic, lifelong public servant who believed deeply in our country. On foreign policy, he was unashamedly aggressive against the forces who meant harm to the United States. I believe that will be his legacy, and I admire him for that. It's unfortunate that he called Trump a coward and a threat to the Republic and then endorsed and voted for Kamala Harris. And it's unfortunate that he never was able to apologize to the president and make amends with him for some of his missteps. But I believe he's an American great. And for all the people who are trashing on him, many of the same people will be trashing you when you pass away. These leftists have no bounds on whose grave they will shit on. So I just want to leave you guys with that. Tate?
Yeah, you can follow me on X and Instagram at @RealTateBrown. And I just want to say this weekend coming up on the Culture War channel, I'm experimenting. We're going to do a new series to give you some weekend content. So me and Connor Tomlinson, British patriot, high IQ guy, we're putting together a little package for you guys. So we're going to do an hour of news. It's going to be 30 minutes of American news and 30 minutes of British news. It's kind of an across-the-pond sort of idea. And then on Sunday, we have an interview dropping. I won't reveal who the guest is. Yeah, I want to build some suspense up, but it's going to be really great. So be on the lookout for that this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. You can check us out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out.